tone in my doctor's greeting unleashed a bitter fog in my lungs. Mr. Larson, it's very possible that in 5 to 6 months from now, I will be unable to continue to prescribe your hormones. I want to strongly encourage you to look into alternatives for hormone replacement treatment. Despair immobilizes me. Powerlessness empties me. Anger rumbles my chest. Fear sets the stage. Anxiety directs the play I have been acting out my whole life. We are all victims of the plays we have been cast in, and those of us deemed outcast, just a product of having 10 times more self awareness than anyone else in our lives, a skill that society brutally set us up to learn. Most people will never know how much self torture, denial, and internal reckoning that it requires to come to terms with the truth. The strength it takes to turn over every single rock you have ever passed in your entire life, looking for the one that will prove you wrong, pleading for anything to prove you wrong. Most people will not see how the only risk we consistently pose in this world is to ourselves. We are the most likely group of people to take our lives out of the world's hands. Why are we so quick to surrender? Why do we bullet point the pros and cons of honesty? Why do we unload on those we rely on to bring us back to life? Martin Luther King Jr. said, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Whose silence have you been longing to break so your heart will stop? The enduring ache from a passing thought about telling loved ones, I cannot make space for you right now. I know. The torture from my father's anger with me for not wanting to subject myself to a debate in which he will show me again that his promise of never ending love comes at the cost of my authenticity, but with the best of intentions. I have to ask you, and I want you to really consider this. Where are you when you hide yourself the most? Whose mind do you read to invalidate yours? Whose tongue do you heed while tasting the blood from your own? It is in our nature to care what people think, but we don't have to care what everyone thinks, including people we love who say they love us, but have yet learned how to show it without inflicting pain in the process. We do not have to allow any slack on shackles we don't deserve. How much power have we given away by bowing to the oppressors in our own inner circles, our role models, our leaders, our dear friends and family, fooling ourselves into thinking that shrinking is a prerequisite for those we believe mean well? Is this what it takes for us to realize that we have been perpetuating the problems that we and our ancestors have been fighting to end? When did we stop acknowledging our biases when it came to ourselves? The transphobia, homophobia, biphobia, sexism, racism, sizeism, ageism, xenophobia, ableism, the erasure of marginalized identities, all of it are the standards set by toxic systems we still judge ourselves by. Everyone else is allowed to be exactly who they are except for me. I'm too blank, or I'm not blank enough. I'll never be worthy of love because I blank. It's different for me because I blank. Why do we use anxiety as our guide, turning the steering wheel over and over to unanswerable questions? The only place to drive us is mad. The biggest issue is not the questions left unanswered. The harshest threat to us is the dehumanizing rhetorics that we at some point welcome past the threshold of our souls. What oppressive systems are you perpetuating by comparing your light to another's? When you dim, it makes it harder for everyone to see. Don't leave us in the dark. Did you know that the P in Marsha P. Johnson stood for Pay It No Mind? She gave us a gift, y'all. When did we deny our birthright to that level of audacity? You may not know this, but before you ever opened your eyes, love was planted in them. If you look closely enough at anything, you can see it. Don't turn away. We know too well what it looks like behind us, and we have been looking forward. It's often the only place light can touch in our present. If you want to know what you're fighting for, you have to experience it first. A just world where you can be yourself starts inside of you. Zanel Moholy said, if I wait for someone else to validate my existence, it will mean that I'm shortchanging myself. And I know we've all been running too low on cash. Late stage capitalism depends on us paying it no mind. At what point will we stop buying what our oppressors are selling? When will we stop asking our conscience for IOUs? I have more questions I want you to seriously consider. What are you overcompensating for? Where are you going to outrun fear? My loves, you couldn't be a disappointment if you tried. The only disappointments come from those that made you believe you ever could be one. How often are you letting past pain influence your behavior? A singular event strong enough to knock you off your feet that you never trust yourself to stand tall again. So next time you'll have a shorter distance to fall. Or maybe a series of events. Complex trauma is a result of repeated social violations and is considered more collectively catastrophic to functioning than non complex trauma, regardless of severity. How many social violations do you observe just by interacting with the world? How many of those violations are you allowing to justify your internal self hatred? Did you know none of this is your fault? Can you see how your place in the line of fire was a spot you were molded to stand in, made to believe it was your duty to uphold the bullseye they branded to your truth? Why do we refuse to move out of the spaces we have outgrown? There has never been enough room for you to fit in. Imagine realizing your power is infinite and undying. There is no amount of power that you have given away that cannot be called back to you. Your house was never made of glass, but you've gladly made a bed with the stones others have thrown. Your soft place to land is still out there. The energy you feel moving around when you are at your worst and when you're at your best is the human experience. All of it is real. All of it is valid. All of it is proof that you are a part of something bigger than yourself. The weight you feel is commiserate to the investment you made in giving a damn. Thank you for being alive and in tune. And I am so sorry that the proof is manifesting as pain and suffering. I can't help but wonder what would change if the whole community challenged the rhetorics we've been using to keep ourselves small on an individual level. If we collectively refuse to operate from places of fear of ourselves, do you know? Courage is born from fear. What if we held ourselves to standards that are achievable and started expecting to benefit from relationships we have to climb mountains of Legos barefoot just to appease? What if we decided to extend our strongest loyalty ties to those who deserve them? Ourselves, for example. What if we dumped every single drop from our cups into ourselves first, cultivated self love with our actions, not words? What if we softened the voices we allow to manage our behavior, the ones that keep us in line and hold us to standards we would never ask even our most trusted friends to meet? Can you imagine the extra capacity you would have if you said no every time you wanted to and excused yourself from environments with any indication that your truth is not worthy of the space it takes up? What if we put our own joy at the tippy top of our priority list? Is that not your exact hope for the ones you love? If we never let ourselves settle for less, we can all find our soft place to land.